What's up, guys? In this episode, I'm going to show you how I plan on doing operations. I also am going to show you a couple other things I decided to do. I'm moving Altoona Station from down there to up here, which is a little more realistic. So the station's going to be here. The platforms are going to be all along here. I also moved the arrival departure track. As you remember, this was a two-track main line with a passing siding down the middle. Well, now it's still a two-track main line, but I took the switch out that was right where this Jeep 35 is. I put a switch in here. This used to just be straight through here. I took the track off the roadbed and put it down directly. So now the arrival departure track goes along next to the main line, and it's pretty long. So most of my trains are 14 cars long, because that's about all the space that I'll be able to fit in staging. However, stuff that comes from the coal mine, obviously the coal mine isn't going to have a arrival departure track. You know, it's you just build it up and you kind of go. So I can make I can make trains, as many cars as I want out of the coal mine, as long as it fits on this arrival departure track. So since coal trains are one of my favorite things to run, they will be able to be about 17 cars long now. The other thing I want to show real fast before I explain how I'm going to do an operating session, or how I'm going to do operations, I've now decided permanently that I'm going to take those two tracks there, the loop for Altoona, or for Tyrone, and push them up against that wall and have them come out of a tunnel where the green foam is. That way I can put Sinking Valley down the middle and put a little farm scene, which is what I wanted to do, and that'll make it look a little better, I think. My next project that I won't show just because it's kind of boring, syncing up engines, and it's probably nothing interesting, but I got to start syncing up engines because this one needs reset. This one's been herky-jerky. The E8 lost its mind. I have to reset that. So I that's probably my next project, is to get going on syncing up engines. So now to my operating session. Operating plans, I should say. So this is obviously the westbound classification yard, these three tracks. And then these three tracks are eastbound classification. These two tracks here are for locals and for storage. I have to put in a caboose track here. I'm going to have a left-handed switch here and another left-handed switch here, so I can store cabooses right about where this B unit is. And the Altoona depot is here. So you'll drop up. Oh, that was great. That was real smart. You'll drop off cars here at the depot, and then in between the depot and the yard, or in the switches, will be the caboose tracks, which there's really the only spot I have to put them, so I don't think it's not too bad. So anyways, this is westbound classification, this is eastbound and locals. So what I think I'm doing with westbound is I'm going to make one track specifically for Pittsburgh. Well, Pitcairn in this scenario, because Pitcairn was the major yard in the late 40s, early 50s. Chicago will be another track, and then I'm not sure if I'm going to put random stuff on the third track, like stuff that's destined for Columbus, Cincinnati, stuff like that, or if I want to do another specific city like Detroit, because I know the PRR tracks went up to Detroit. Eastbound will be Enola, Philadelphia, and maybe a mix of New York City, New Jersey, something like that. Locals are locals. The other thing I might do is I might leave a westbound track and an eastbound track open for locals, to build up locals, because locals can fit directly into the yard. That's the nice thing. First track is the runaround track. That's self-explanatory, so that I can run around to either end of the yard, so I can shove cars into the Altoona depot. It's really anything I want to do. Passenger trains, I'm going to have, I believe, 4 passenger trains. Not 4 as in 4 different sets of cars, but 4 that run. So there'll be the Pennsylvanian, Broadway Limited, the Pittsburgher, and the Duquesne. So when you're eastbound, you're obviously right in front of the station. When you're westbound, you'll come up here, and there'll be those little crossing, what do you want to crossing planks, so that people can get from the station to the passenger cars, and nothing will be able to get through when I do that, so that little Timmy or little Jimmy doesn't get run over walking across the tracks. And nothing really comes eastbound anyways down this part, at least for operating sessions, because of the way this is designed, except for maybe a coal train or something like that. So the way staging's going to work, and all the staging's on the bottom level. That will be off a curved turnout in the back behind this engine. You'll pull a train in. Your engine will be at that end, and it will be stuck on a kind of like a runaround track, because at the end of the switch is like this. There'll be a little section that you can take your engine up, and then if there's a clear track, it can come back. Each staging track will be 2 tracks. So you can pull your train in, and if the other one's clear, you can get your engine out. If you can't, that's okay. You just wait until another train leaves, because it also gives me a chance to rest my engines. I don't want the same engines running, for an hour, 2 hours. I don't want to wear them out. Coming out, you go along the back. You hit the crossover to get on the right side of the tracks. Then you go around through Tyrone, you get into Altoona. The upper level staging is where things get a little different. It's the same idea. You pull in, you can do a run around with your engines to get to the other end to pull a train out. Or you can pull a train in, and for stuff that needs to go eastbound down the mountain that's going to skip Altoona Yard and go directly to Enola staging, you can build up a coal train here. That's where the 3-way switch is going to be up here. This is where the coal mine is going to be. You can build up a train with, what I'll do is you'll pull an engine into about here. You'll have a switcher build up the coal train, push it up to the engine, and then the engine can go down like that. Like that passenger train right now will come down right past the station, and it will skip the Altoona Yard. The coal train can do that. So anything that's going, a coal train that's going to Enola for like a power plant like that, or it's more of a steel mill, will, it'll go down the eastbound one, which means a train that, I'm trying to put it into words. All right, so if you pull a train into Pitcairn staging, you can take a ready one out. You'll back it out. If it's like something like a cattle train that needs to go eastbound the whole way to Enola, you can back it out. I'm going to make sure that everything's nice and even so that you can actually back full trains up. You'll come around the loop, because remember the crossover goes from this to there. And that is really just for the Crescent area, which I'll get to, and the coal mine. So you can back a train up, you can take it around the loop and go eastbound, and it'll skip the yard. You'll have to stop in Altoona for a crew change, but that's at least that way I can schedule 3 train meets on Horseshoe Curve. So to explain that, let's explain the coal train right now. The coal train right now, you can see that's where the crossover is going to be. So when an empty coal train comes up to the South Fork coal mine, it'll hit this crossover, go around the loop, and it can back its cars into the coal mine. And another neat thing I'll do is, in order to have a 3-train meet, sometime I can have a coal train build up and put on a train like this, and the coal train will stop here before it gets to the tunnel. A train coming out of Pitcairn will come along the back and stop there before it gets into the tunnel. And as you see, these two tracks, they don't intervene with each other. That coal train, when everything's ready to go, the coal train will come down the eastbound track just like it is now. The mixed freight out of Pitcairn will come, and it'll hit the curb turnout here and go down the middle track, which is bidirectional. And then a passenger train, a mixed freight, an empty coal train, anything can come up this outside loop westbound. So if it's done correctly, right about where that coal train is now will be a coal train, a mixed freight in the middle, and then a mixed freight coal train or passenger train coming up westbound. So that way I can schedule 3 train meets by holding them up in the Crescent and then waiting for the westbound one to get to about here. I've done the math. As long as it's going 20 to 30 scale miles per hour here, they'll meet right around that corner, which is about perfect. So that's how I plan on doing 3 train meets. Let's hope I don't run out of space on my camera here. Locals are set to 8 cars long, maybe 9. I'll build one up. Again, you go along the back there to Tyrone, and when you're over here in Tyrone, what you're gonna do is, ow! It's like stub my toe. You pull into this inside loop. This isn't the local. This is just, I just have a train sitting here. You pull into this inside loop, and then I'll have a light down there. And as soon as a train gets into the tunnel back here to go around Tyrone, I'll turn the light red. So anything I'll change the PRR positional signals, but for now it's going to be your typical green-red signal, because I'm having a hard time finding PRR positional signals. So anyways, that'll tell you, okay, you got to get off the main line there. But anyways, when you run the Tyrone paper mill, there are 3 cars usually that you'll pick up at the loading track. 3 you drop off at the storage track. A couple tank cars. I still got to get more. Excuse me. A couple tank cars that you have to pick up and drop off. A coal car, because it's powered by coal. Wood chip car. Box car full of machine parts every now and then. This track you can use that for storage or use that for your moves, also to store your engine. And then here is a runaround track, as you can see. And that helps you get to the quarry, which has nothing on it. This first track is for covered hoppers full of lime. The second track is for gondolas full of sand and hoppers full of limestone. I wanted to get as much out of this as I could, so I did limestone, and sand. So you'll pull the cars out, push them up this track or one of these tracks, and do a runaround. And then down there is the depot. The depot, drops off anything. Right now, it's got a box car full of, I don't know, PVC pipe, I think, and it's got a FGE, Fruit Growers Express car full of fruit from Pittsburgh. And that car it even says on it that when it's empty, it's to be returned to Pittsburgh. So that's kind of neat. So on the car card, I'll put when empty, return to Pittsburgh. So that's how the Tyrone paper mill works. So if you do the math, 2 tank cars, 3 box cars, 6, 8, 9 for coal cars, 10 wood chips, usually 2 covered hoppers, 12 gondola, 13 a couple hoppers full of limestone, 15, and then it can fit 2 cars on the depot. So that's 17 cars. So that's about 2. I'm gonna get a shot of this. That's about 2 locals to the Tyrone paper mill each session, which is really what I wanted, because this is the one area that's laid out very nicely, and I didn't have to compress too much stuff. So I really like this area. Now, this is turning into a long video. Now, this leaves the Crescent local. The Crescent local is going to be unique because this is where the helpers for going down the mountain will be staged. I'll have helpers here. I'll have your little coaling facility for steam engines. I'll have diesel fueling facility for diesels. There's going to be a flour and feed mill and a lumber mill for just real small ones for Crescent, because I want some kind of local. This will be more like a 6 or 7 car local. It'll be pretty small, but I just want another way to get freight and go back to Altoona with it. Then there will also be the Altoona Works in here. Altoona Works is obviously going to need hoppers full of coal for the coal to steam engines. It's going to need tank cars, which I have these Allegheny Refining to fuel the diesels. I might need to get ones that are more specific for that, but I like those for now. There will also be a scrap yard for the Altoona Works. All that scrap like this will get loaded into gondolas and head to, wherever, Pittsburgh and Enola, to the steel mills to be reused. And then I also have Altoona Pipe and Steel, which now that there's no Altoona station, I might move this down a little bit, throw a switch in there, and have a siding for gondolas, because I plan on having 3 or 4 cars come out of the Altoona Pipe and Steel with, pipe like this, maybe smaller pipe for 40-foot gondolas, anything like that. I also plan on having a situation card. So like Horseshoe Curve had a derailment 2.5 weeks ago. So with my layout, I have basically Horseshoe Curve is a long passing siding for the middle track, because that's bidirectional. So I might have a derailment on the bidirectional track and have people take the breakdown train up and slowly put the cars back on the track, and then stuff going up the westbound part of the curve has to go very slowly. Or I could actually have the middle track and the inside track be where the derailment is, so there's only one track up and down the curve, and that's the outside track, which would work, because going up westbound, no problem. Going down to Altoona, you'd use the westbound track, and you'd come through the yard, and then there's the crossover obviously under there to get you back to the correct side. So those are my plans for an operating session and just for operations in general. I'm starting to get there. Hopefully this helped make some sense of what I plan on doing. I mean, the easiest way to put it is I have Pittsburgh staging, Enola staging. Altoona's in the middle. That's the area that is modeled. Crescent and Tyrone are the locals. So from Crescent to Tyrone, I have all that modeled. So I can do locals and dropping off and picking up cars in Altoona and all sorts of stuff in Altoona along with Altoona Works. And then, of course, I have the South Fork coal mine. So hopefully that gave you guys a little bit better of an idea of how I plan on running trains. And I'm starting to get a system of my car cards and how everything works, and it works pretty well. I don't run out of cars in Altoona for the locals, and I don't have too many cars coming into Altoona or too many going out. So right now it seems to work pretty well, and one of these days I'm going to have an operating session and show you guys what I'm doing, but I gotta wait till I get staging done for that. Until then, the next project I'm working on is I'm putting together the 4-bay hoppers that PRR had more of than a lot of railroads had freight cars in total. I have 2 right now, and I like them, so then I'll probably order another dozen and put them together. And the next project will be working on staging and fixing the Tyrone, moving the track to the wall, and working more on Horseshoe Curve. So until then, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I know it's pretty long, and sometimes I stumble on